Hey guys, welcome to my newest video for today. Today's video is going to be my November 2015 wrap up. I had a really good reading month this past month and I have quite a few books to talk about, but yeah, so I'm just going to get straight into it. And the first one that I'm just going to briefly mention is the book I read in October, because yeah, October I only read the one book because I had exams and then yeah, I was sick and I had a bunch of other stuff on, so my reading motivation was a bit low. So the book I read in October was Succubus Blues, which is the first book in the Georgina Kincaid series by Rochelle Mead. I really had a fun time reading this book. It's definitely a series that I want to continue on with, and yeah, it's just, I found the world, like, it's quite an interesting world. I think this series is like urban fantasy. I think it's probably the genre to describe it, but yeah, it's just, you got all these different magical creatures, and it's it's got like this, you got a political maybe not political, but yeah, you've got this setup, like I guess you sort of have light and dark, and it's kind of reminds me a bit of Lost Girl, but I mean, obviously I think this series came before that, I'm pretty sure, but yeah, just that type of, I've got that type of vibe from it, and also because the main character is a succubus, and I've always found like succubus, or succubi, is that the plural, to be quite fascinating, like just the mythology behind it. And yeah, I just had a lot of fun with this, and as I said, want to continue with the series, and I gave Succubus Blues a 4 out of 5 stars. Then going into the November books, the first one I read was Doctor Who Only Human, which is the 5th book in the new series Adventures, and this one features the 9th Doctor, Rose and Jack. I've been really enjoying like getting back into these Doctor Who, like the new series adventure books, because I sort of started to read them a couple of years ago and then I just stopped reading them, and like I read the first few books and yeah, just never picked them up. But now that I sort of want to try and get as many of the books as I can and to read them, yeah, I've just been having a lot of fun with them. And yeah, Only Human, I thought was a really good story. So it's sort of like, it dealt with, I guess, being out of time, and like, yeah, like from the different time periods, and I thought that mingling was, like, I guess the whole intersecting between the two different, yeah, time periods were quite well. I loved, oh, what was the character's name? Daz, I think that's how you say his name, who's like a caveman who got brought to the present. Yeah, I just sort of loved all those like things, because like how Jack had to teach him how to be human, and they were probably some of my favourite bits of the book. It's just and then also when Jack had to save him from Rose's mum, I thought that was I liked that whole scene. But yeah, no, it's really yeah, it's, again, I just had a lot of fun with this book, and I ended up giving it 4 out of 5 stars. Then I finally finished The Girl Who Played with Fire, which is the 2nd book in the Millennium Trilogy, or well, I guess like the original Millennium Trilogy, because I know there is a 4th book, but I'm not sure if it's like, yeah. But anyway, it's the 2nd book in the series. It's because I started this a couple of years ago, but it's just, I find it's one of those books where you sort of, because the topics that they deal with are really heavy, I sort of need to have breaks from it every now and then, and I think that's sort of why, like, I would get into it, like, I'd start reading and I'd get really into it, and then I'd have to stop, and then, you know, a few months would pass and I'd have to pick it up, I'd pick it up again, and it took a while to finish it, but I'm glad I did, because even though it started off quite a slow burner, once it hit like around the middle part, and the I guess like with the manhunt for Elizabeth, yeah, like that got underway and we sort of learnt more about her past. That was really well done, and yeah, it just made pretty much changed like the whole like tone of the book, and yeah, it was just like really engaging, because at the start I was hovering around like, you know, a 4 out of 5 stars, and then by the end I was like, no, this is another 5 out of 5 stars, because I loved the first book, and because I gave that one a 5 out of 5 as well. But yeah, The Girl Who Played with Fire I thought was just as good. And then we got to the next book that I read was The Queen of the Tealing, which is by Erika Johansson, and because I've been hearing quite a bit of buzz around BookTube, and especially because there's apparently a movie adaptation in the works and Emma Watson is attached to star in it, and I was like, I need to read this book, and I'm really glad that I did, because I absolutely loved it. Because I know I think some people who felt it was probably a bit slow, and I did get that. Like from maybe the first couple of chapters, I just sort of like, okay, I was like, okay, but then yeah, but it did take eventually, I think it's, yeah, just the first few chapters I think were probably slow, but then after that it was just like bam bam bam, there's just a lot happening. Like, yeah, there's a lot of political intrigue, which is one of yeah, I just really, it's, yeah, because I just have this weird fascination with politics, and yeah, it's like anything that sort of has, like, especially with the court, I always find that kind of thing fascinating. One of my favorite moments in this book was the coronation. That was just like, I was like, damn, it's like, yeah, she's like being stabbed and she's still insisting on finishing the coronation. I was just like, wow. But yeah, I also found the premise of the book quite fascinating, because it's like sort of set in a traditional medieval like time period, but it's actually set in the future, because like society's like regressed, because it's there's like this crossing, and like when they're finding this new world or continent, and yeah, they ended up losing a lot of, there's like not everyone survived that crossing, and a lot of all their, I guess, important, like, you know, with doctors and nurses and I guess all their other scientific technology got lost in that crossing, and yeah, it just sort of set the society back. And I thought that's actually quite fascinating, because you sort of, it made it dropped hints to stuff that's happened, like we got a lot of references to our present. So like there's one scene and they're like, if the library, and you know, they're referring to the like volume of Rowling and J.R.R. Tolkien, and yeah, it's just, I thought this was really well done, like the book in general, and I definitely need to pick up Invasion of the Tealing, because I think it's like a trilogy, so yeah, definitely going to finish this one. I ended up giving Queen of the Tealing 5 out of 5 stars. And then I read City of Ashes, which is the second book in the Mortal Instrument series by Cassandra Clare. Slowly making my way through the series. But yeah, I've really enjoyed the first 2 books, and yeah, and City of Ashes I thought was actually, I just had a lot of fun with it. It's because it, yeah, just sort of the interactions between the main characters, I think, are some of like my favorite moments, because they're like so sarcastic with each other, especially Jace and Isabel. Yeah, it's just, yeah, I just love the main, like yeah, like with Jace, Isabel, Alec, Clary, I just sort of like all their interactions, and yeah, it's yeah, I just, yeah, really like this one. I can't really say thing, but yeah, definitely I sort of appreciated the humor in this book, and yeah, it's again another series I want to continue on reading. I have ordered City of Glass, so I should have that hopefully in the next week or so. So But yeah, I've, as I said, been really enjoying the series. I can't believe it's taken me so long to actually get around to reading them. But yeah, I do want to, like, you know, delve more into this, like, the Shadowhunter world. And yeah, so I ended up giving City of Ashes a 4 out of 5 stars. And then I read a graphic novel, which I read The Flash Volume 3, Guerrilla Warfare. I've been really loving reading, like, this series, because The Flash is sort of my first foray into, like, the comic book world, and because I think I mentioned before, I chose The Flash because I love the series on, like, TV, and I mean, it's a little bit different to the actual TV series, but a lot of, like, obviously you got the core characters there, and it's got a very similar tone, but yeah, it's just as fun as the TV show, and yeah, Volume 3 was no exception, because this time we were introduced, well, we've already been introduced to Grodd, I think that's how you say his name, because this volume is called Guerrilla Warfare, and yeah, and it's all about him, Grodd, launching an attack on Central City. It's sort of, yeah, and this one also sees a team up with the Flash and the Rogues, which I loved. I loved their whole bantering, like, especially the Rogues, because some of them are like, why are we even doing this? It's like, shouldn't we be leaving this to the heroes? And yeah, it's, yeah, just had a lot of fun with this one. And yeah, definitely want to pick up the next volume, because yeah, I'm trying to expand, like, my comic book graphic novels, I guess my foray into this world, and yeah, because there's a bunch I want to read. I think I just got to manage it, like, when I get around to picking them up, because they are a little bit pricey, because I think a graphic novel on Book Depository is roughly around the $20 mark, because normally you can get like 2 books for that price. So, but yeah, I do want to read more graphic novels, and again, want to continue reading The Flash. And I don't know if I said the rating, but I gave The Flash Volume 3 4 out of 5 stars. And then I read The Bone Season, which is the first book in the Bone Season series by Samantha Shannon. And this book really surprised me, because I wasn't sure really what to expect, because I've been hearing, I think, mixed things about this particular series. Like, I think you got people on one spectrum who absolutely loved it, and then you sort of had some people who were like meh on it, I guess. I can sort of see why it sort of got, like, the different opinions, because there are some I guess, situations in this book, and it's I guess the way it's sort of handled. I mean, it sort of does touch on it, but it's, yeah, not really explored. I think that would have made it actually quite a little bit, I mean, not better, but I think it would have been quite a fascinating approach if the topic had been explored. And that's like with Stockholm Syndrome, because it is mentioned like, yeah, briefly in this book, but yeah, there's no real consequences of it. I think that's probably the best way I can describe it. And then, yeah, you sort of also go into the situation where you like, you know, she's starting to the main character, she's starting to, like, I think it's like you sympathize with your captor, and then, yeah, and towards the end of the book there's sort of like, you sort of got the hint of a romance between them, which I don't mind the whole romance part of it, but I think is just sort of the way it was built up. I think that was sort of, I think the whole execution of that romance and where it ended, because I was quite, yeah, I did actually like the whole like with the oh, what was the character's name? I think he was the Blood Consort. I think that was his title. And like, her reactions, Paige, that's the girl's name, like how they were both coping with the situation, because, like, it's not he's a bit different to all the other like other people of his race. And yeah, I did actually think it was a very, like, the world building in this was really well done. It's sort of like a, I guess, alternate history. I think that's probably how you could describe it, because it's sort of, was it Edward the Seventh? I think that was the things. It's sort of like at one point it's just digressed completely, and like, because when like certain elements got introduced into this world, it's, yeah, it changed history, and yeah, and the like how that affected, because it, like, this book's, yeah, it takes, yeah, it's sort of, it's in the future, but yeah, it's sort of like, I think dystopian, this would be dystopian, but I know I'm not explaining this very well, but yeah, it's overall, I really did enjoy the book, and I do want to pick up the rest of the series, because I know the Mime Order is out, and I think book 3 comes out next year. But yeah, I ended up giving it 4 out of 5 stars. It's probably in the 4.5 range, because I probably would have given it 5 stars, but yeah, I think there's just a couple of minor issues that stopped me actually giving it like a full 5 out of 5 stars. But on the whole, I really enjoyed this book, and yeah, because I read through it quite quickly. I think I read it in like a week, which considering it's like a 500 odd page book, it's pretty impressive for me. But anyway, so that was that one. And then I ended up reading, because I've had this book for a while, because I've been reading this particular author on LiveJournal, because I'm talking about Movies in 15 Minutes by Claire Linda Jones, because she has a LiveJournal, or she had a LiveJournal community, which I think she still has up, but I don't know if she's updated it. And basically what it is, it's like, she takes, like, you know, she talks about a certain movie, and yeah, it's like in script form, like it's a parody, and it's just, it basically, yeah, as it says, trims it to 15 minutes, and they are some of the funniest things I've ever read. It's, oh, it's just, because the reason, I've had this book for a while, but I was sort of waiting until I'd actually seen all the movies that were in this book, because you've got, like, Jurassic Park, Braveheart, Independence Day, Titanic, The Matrix, Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, or as in the thing, they keep changing it to, like, Philosopher's Sorcerer's Stone. Yeah, like Spider-Man, Attack of the Clones, it's, yeah, and of course the Lord of the Rings trilogy. Yeah, it's just, it was so funny reading it, because like, they're just like so random, but I think some of my favourite moments, like, because there's a lot of like Narnia references to it, and they sort of, when like, especially in Harry Potter, that, like, when Hagrid's trying to get to Diagon Alley, and they end up in like Narnia, and he's like, it's just like, he goes, some form, you guys again, it's just the way that's actually written is just, I don't know, it's funny, it's I mean, it may also be my sense of humour that I find these things funny, but yeah, I just had so much fun, like, reading it, and yeah, if you can track this book down, I definitely recommend picking it up. I gave this 5 out of 5 stars. Yeah, I just loved it. Then I listened to a Big Finish audio, one that I've had for a while, and that is the very first Big Finish audio in the main range, and that is The Sirens of Time, which I actually really enjoyed. It was, because this is like a multi-doctor story, because you've got 5, 6, and 7. Because each of the doctors sort of have their own part, which I really liked, because they each had their like own adventure. And then in the final one, they all come together to sort of solve what's going on, because basically in this one, you've got Gallifrey's under attack by this unknown force, and they sort of, I think the main they were trying to get the Doctor to go to them, like they were trying to pull the Doctor out of time, or they were trying to destroy the Doctor. I don't know. It's sort of changed between like, because yeah, at times I was like, okay, they want to get the Doctor to them, or they want to stop the Doctor, or they want to destroy the Doctor. I thought that it was actually, I don't know if it was just me, but I found that a bit confusing when like they kept changing why they wanted like what they wanted to do with the actual Doctor. But I liked all this, like the individual stories, like because it dealt with like there were certain points in time, especially the ones on Earth, because I think it's the fifth Doctor one, because I think his story had like the biggest implication, like when they, like these people, like I can't remember what their names were, but yeah, but it basically, they could change time, and yeah, I really enjoyed the story and ended up giving it 4 out of 5 stars. I do want to eventually get around to listening to more Big Finish audios. Like I've listened to a few of them, but there's still like more I want to get around to listening to. And then I read Crown of Midnight, which is the second book in the Throne of Glass series by Sarah J. Maas. I absolutely love this series. I gave this one, again, Crown of Midnight, a 5 out of 5 stars, because I gave the first one 5 out of 5, because I was like, okay, the first book was pretty awesome. I don't know if Crown of Midnight could top that, and it topped it. It was just, it was just so, like from start to finish, it was just like, you sort of couldn't put it down. I continue to love Selena. She is awesome. I think definitely one of my favorite fictional characters, I think. And I haven't even read the rest of the series. Like, I'm not up to date with the series or anything, but yeah, Selena, is awesome. I sort of liked, I did like how she approached her role as the King's assassin in this. I thought that was quite well done, because I didn't actually think she would be full on out, obeying him. Like, she would be putting her own spin on it, and it was a really great read. Even though I was a bit shocked at some things that happened in this book, because I was just reading this and I was like, oh my god, why? Because like people died that I didn't expect them to die, and and just seeing Selena go off the deep end, and then her relationship with is it Kale or Chow? I think it's Kale, but and because so at the end of the first book, I wasn't really sure who I shipped in regards, like whether I was Selena Dorian or Selena Kale. I was sort of shipping both of them with her, because I just love them, like her with both of them, and I think that was more or less the same with the second one, even though she did hook up with Kale. I did actually like their relationship, and I was devastated when it, like, that wedge was put between them, and like she nearly killed him, and I was just like, I can't cope. There were a lot of feels in this book, and and then at the end I was just like, wow, because I'd sort of refrained from actually looking up I tried to avoid the synopsis for the future books, and I had no idea that was coming. I was just like, okay, got to read the next part, which, even though I'm going to read the prequels first, and then I'm going to read book 3, and then and have to get book 4 so that I have it when I finish it. But yeah, I love the Throne of Glass series, and I'm so glad I finally got around to starting to read these. And so I gave, as I said, gave Crown of Midnight a 5 out of 5 stars. And then I read another Doctor Who book, which was The Stealers of Dreams, and I actually think this one, out of the two that I read, I think I did prefer this one a bit more, even though I gave it 4 out of 5 stars again. Just because I thought the premise, I actually really enjoyed the premise and what was going on in this world, and it was just a really fascinating read, especially like because basically in this one the Doctor, Rose and Jack land on this world, and fiction has been outlawed, and basically if because like they say, you know, you can go like fantasy crazy, and if you sort of start reading all these different stories, and yeah, it's yeah, I thought it was just really, yeah, well done, and just sort of like and again had a lot of fun reading this one. And yeah, it's just yeah, I just thought the concept was quite interesting, like because with this world, because you sort of had like the news, but it was just like every like day-to-day life of like, you know, so you'd have sort of people who were like, you know, they were early to work, like they saved a few minutes of their trip, and that was on the news. And yeah, it was things like that. And yeah, I just found it interesting. And yeah, it's probably one of the favorites that I've read so far from this particular series. So that was Stealers of Dreams. And then the last book that I read for this past month is one that I'm probably the most proud that I finally read it, because I finished reading Les Miserables. And yeah, it's been a long time coming. I first picked this book up in 2012. I sort of read a couple of pages and then put it down, and then I tried to pick it up again, and then I put it down again. But it wasn't until this year that I finally, like, I started. So again, it's almost nearly happened again this year. Like, I started it, I read a couple hundred pages, and then I put it down. But then I've been sort of going through my TBR pile that I've had, like, sort of stacks for books that I've started and haven't finished, and that was the next one. So I was like, I'm finishing it this year, and I did. Because basically what I've been doing, like with these like books that I've had for a while, I've actually been reading 20 pages at a time. Like, I read a bit of one book, then I read 20 pages of the other book. And yeah, it's definitely for me one of the my major accomplishments this year. Needless to say, I absolutely loved Les Mis. It's because, you know, or no, it's my favorite musical, and it was definitely interesting reading the story, like, because you could sort of say, oh yeah, that's when this part happens in the musical, even though like there are quite a few changes in between the two like mediums. But I thought the book was just as good. I probably do prefer the musical, but I still definitely appreciate the book, because obviously that's what spawned the, like, we didn't have the book, we would probably most likely wouldn't have had the musical. And yeah, it's definitely a different experience reading it though, because I knew, like, from people who've read it that, you know, he does, like, Victor Hugo does go into like these little segues, and like he's sort of like, there's like a 40-page essay almost on Waterloo, and I was sort of reading that, I was like, okay. And then yeah, you just is very detailed, and I mean, I appreciated that detail, but you know, because sometimes you get to one point and then there'd be like so many pages on something else that was only like a minute background like detail that you probably didn't need to know. And yeah, and I was like, I want to go back to the main what's happening. And yeah, and there's like a full chapter on something else that, but no, I still loved this book. And I will say this though, I wasn't a big fan of Marius in this book. I don't know if it's just me, but because I'm fine with him in the musical, but I think I know why they would have changed so much. I mean, because to be honest, he's a bit of an ass in this book. I'm just, yeah, especially like, because he sort of starts off with like, he's came off as being so like stalkerish. It was, I mean, I know it's a different time period, but I'm just like, he practically stalked Cosette for like, I think nearly a month. It was like 2 weeks to a month, and you know, he's just watched her. I was like, this is kind of creepy. And then at the end, when Valjean tells him about his past and the way he treats him afterwards, I'm just like, no, you treated him better in the musical. It was just, yeah, I did not like that as well, like, because I was like, God damn it, Marius. Yeah, he's probably my least favourite character in the book. It was, that was, yeah, just with the chain, yeah. I mean, I suppose it's obviously not change because that's, you know, the book came first, but yeah, definitely prefer him in the musical. It was just, just trying to read through some of his stuff, it was that, but yeah, that's probably only my minor complaints, like, with the book, but yeah, obviously I gave it 5 out of 5 stars, and yeah, so it's probably my well, that and Crown of Midnight are probably my favourite reads this past month. So yeah, I think I'm gonna stop it at this point because I've probably rambled on for like half an hour. So thank you guys for watching, and until my next video, I will see you guys next time. Bye.